She found the mirror on a warm, quiet Saturday, leaning against a folding table at a yard sale held by a house that felt too old for the neighborhood. The glass was framed in tarnished silver, carved with roses that had wilted into strange, twisted shapes. She hadn't planned to buy anything. She didn't even know why she stopped. But the mirror felt like it had been waiting for her, and when the seller smiled and said $5, she handed over the bill before she truly looked at it. She carried it home under her arm, unaware that the weight she felt wasn't just from the glass. When she hung it in the hallway, she stepped back and laughed softly at how out of place it looked, surrounded by her modern clean walls. Still, it gave the space a certain charm. She didn't notice the first strange thing until that night. As she walked past, she caught a flicker of movement in the corner of her eye, her reflection turning its head a fraction too late, as though rushing to keep up. She told herself she was tired. People imagine things when the house gets quiet. But the second night was harder to explain. She brushed her teeth, leaned forward, and saw her reflection blink slowly while her own eyes remained open. She froze, staring into the glass until her eyes watered. Her reflection stared back with perfect stillness, as though waiting to see what she would do next. She wiped the mirror with her sleeve, whispered that she was imagining things, and turned off the bathroom light. In the dark, she could still feel eyes looking at her. Days passed, and the mirror grew stranger. Sometimes her reflection lagged behind her movements like a poorly synced video. Other times, it stood perfectly still while she moved, studying her with a patient, almost curious expression. Once she caught it smiling faintly, even though her lips were pressed tightly together. The smile wasn't wide or grotesque. It was small, intimate, knowing. The kind of smile someone gives when they've learned a secret they should never have discovered. She told herself she'd take the mirror down. She even reached for it once. But her hand stopped inches from the frame as a cold rush of dread filled her chest, gripping her ribs like invisible fingers. She pulled her hand away. She wasn't ready. That's what she told herself. One night she woke to a soft tapping sound. At first she thought it was rain, but the sky outside was clear. The tapping came again, rhythmic, patient. She followed it into the hallway where the mirror hung. Her reflection stood perfectly still. But the tapping didn't stop. It grew louder, sharper, until she realized it wasn't coming from her side of the mirror at all. It was coming from inside the glass. She stepped closer. Her reflection didn't match her breathing. Its chest rose too slowly, as though savoring each breath. She felt a tremor run through her, a warning she didn't understand. The reflection lifted its hand. She did not. It placed its palm against the inside of the mirror. The tapping stopped, replaced by a soft, dragging sound like nails gliding slowly across the glass. She whispered, "Stop," but the reflection's smile widened, stretching with a quiet joy that didn't belong to any human emotion. She stumbled back, knocking into the wall, heart pounding so loudly she could hear it in her ears. When she finally forced herself to look again, the reflection was normal. Perfect. Harmless. Too harmless. She slept with the lights on that night, but sleep didn't help. She dreamed of standing on the other side of the mirror, watching herself move freely while she was trapped behind the glass. Palms pressed against the cold surface, unable to scream. She woke, gasping, clutching her throat. The mirror sat silently in the hall, waiting. The next evening, she brought a blanket and covered it, determined to take it down in the morning. But at sunrise, she found the blanket folded neatly on the floor, as if someone had set it aside with careful hands. Panic finally overcame her hesitation. She grabbed a hammer and swung it at the mirror with shaking arms. But inches before, it struck. Something pulsed beneath the glass, a ripple like a heartbeat, and the hammer slipped from her hand as though pushed away. The mirror didn't break. The reflection didn't move, but its eyes glowed faintly with a thin shimmer of awareness. She backed away slowly, dizzy with fear. That night, she called a friend and asked if they could take the mirror off her hands. She lied and said it didn't fit her decor. He agreed to pick it up the next day, but the next day came, and he didn't show. She called again. No answer. Later, she learned he had crashed his car only an hour after she hung up. He survived, but when she visited him in the hospital, he whispered that he'd seen something in the rearview mirror before losing control. Her reflection smiling from the back seat. She didn't go home that night. She couldn't. But eventually, she had to. When she stepped inside, the hallway was silent. Too silent. She approached the mirror slowly, breath trembling, praying that her reflection would behave normally. It didn't. Her reflection stood closer to the glass than she did, face inches from the surface, as though it had been waiting just beneath the skin of the world. And then, with a slow, terrible grace, it pressed its forehead to the glass and whispered one sound she felt more than heard. A breath. A name. Hers. She fled the house without looking back. She never returned. But sometimes, in shop windows or passing cars, she sees a face behind her shoulder, a faint version of herself smiling wider than she ever could, watching, waiting, learning how to walk the world without her.
Go on now, press that subscribe button. Trust an old man, nightmares are better shared.